can't learn faith. You just have to be in an experience that kind of thrusts you into opening up to it. Any sort of situation where you're put into really when you're put into uncertainty, like kind of when I left the US, having faith that where I was going to go, I was going to be taken care of. I didn't have to like move with fear through India. Like I could just be like, I'm going to be led to the right places, meeting the right people, and it's going to be a great experience. And I had faith that that's what was going to happen, and that is what happened.
Hi, I'm Sarahmony from the Intuitive Gym, and I am with Sarah Seymour. She is a writer who is living in the tropical islands in Southeast Asia. And I have known Sarah for a few years now, going on several. And our lives have crossed most serendipitously to bring us together to find a lot of meaning, friendship, and inspiration in our life. And I'd like to know, first off, what faith means to you.
Oh, wow. It's a big question. It means, I think, just trusting, kind of as you navigate and move through life, just trusting that every move you make, you're going to be taken care of, that it's the right moves to make, the right path to take. It's something you definitely have to be put into positions to, you either are going to like just surrender and have faith that things are going to work out, or you're going to resist that and you're going to be stressed out. You're going to worry. That's when you're not going to be in a good situation. So when you come to kind of crossroads and you're just kind of thrust into situations where you have to make choices, path A or path B, that whatever you choose, you just have to surrender and be like, this is what I'm doing. I have to have faith that, this is the right decision, that I'm going to be taken care of through this. And
wow, we'll be put into situations, and only through these situations will we learn to open up and trust more of our sense of belonging to even be in the situations that we're experiencing.
Right. It's all, you have to have the experience. I don't think faith is like we were talking about before. You can't learn faith. You just have to be in an experience that kind of thrusts you into opening up to it.
So would you be willing to tell us about a significant experience that you've had then that has brought faith into your life in a big way?
Oh, wow. My life is full of these situations. I've had to take on faith for a very long time. I think being thrust into really, really difficult situations where I've had to make choices would be where I kind of started getting the experience of faith, because not having faith would be just stressing, being in a state of just being so stressed out all the time. And being in these situations, like kind of the last few years I was living in the US, my life is so full of these situations. This is where I really learned to have this sort of trust in myself and trust in the universe that I'm being guided into the right directions, and having faith and, surrendering to that. Yeah.
So in order to get to this point where you really had faith, it sounds like you've had to go through enough challenges and struggles to be able to actually make a choice towards something less familiar instead of continuing along a familiar path.
Right, exactly. Just knowing that when I come up against challenges, like I think this ties into intuition as well, just having this knowing that, okay, I'm making this decision and it might not be a comfortable decision, but it's like I have faith that this is the right decision, that I'm going to come out of this on the other side of this, like for the better.
So then how does intuition and faith go together for you?
I don't think they're not inseparable. They are kind of like this, in a way, the same thing. Just like for me, intuition is like it's not even a feeling, it's a knowing. It's not even like you have to stop and think about it. It's like, oh, I know this is it, and I have faith that this is it. And
what does that feel like to you?
I don't even know if I can put a feeling to it. It's like not even a feeling, it's a knowing. And I think that's different. How to explain how that's different, I'm not sure. I think with a feeling, you're looking for like something visceral, whereas a knowing isn't. It's more like you just know. It's so hard to explain. I need to get better at explaining things like this. Yeah, it's a knowing.
Well, I think I think describing it as a knowing is understandable, because we can all know what we know, but where I'm noticing the problem comes is when we're asked to explain ourselves.
Right.
To something that's other than the center of where the knowing is taking place.
Yeah, I think this is where, like, when you're looking from the outside to somebody who's acting on intuition and faith, it doesn't make sense to somebody looking in from the outside. Because I definitely feel like moving through my life, I have made decisions completely based on intuitive knowing and having faith that going in this direction is going to be the best of my benefit. And I've had people like just be absolutely and completely baffled by some of the decisions I've made. But this is where it's gotten me. and it's a beautiful place to be.
That's what I'm curious about too, is so as you've begun to kind of couple your faithfulness in your intuitive decision making, what has changed in the life that you are leading yourself into versus like where you have previously come?
Getting very comfortable with the unknown, with uncertainty. When you can move with comfort through, not even comfort, I'm not sure what the right word would be. If you can move with ease, maybe ease. If you can move with ease through these waters of just uncertainty and unknowing, that's a good place. That's, you've come a long way, instead of having this resistance to it or wanting to take a safer route. And sometimes maybe from the outside, it looks like the person is taking a safe route, but that's from their perspective. That might not be from, sometimes I don't even want to say it's, because I think there's a difference between using like an instinctive pulse and like intuition, where sometimes you get this feeling where like, oh, I want to get out of this situation. And sometimes that's not the right way to think about it. Sometimes, like, because timing is everything. And if your intuition is telling you, you sit there until you know the right time to make your move. Like, it's in a way, it's kind of calculated like that too in some ways. That's hard to explain too, because it's not calculated in an intellectual way. It's like that knowing, and you know when not to do something too.
Wow. So when not to do, like sometimes I find for myself that I feel very sure and very certain that I know something is going to be the solution or the effective act to create more movement or change in what's occurring right now. But I will say that there have been plenty of times where I realized that where it might involve me individually, the rest of like my relationships or even the world at large, it might not be the right time for the whole organism itself or the whole body. And so learning to really stay in that knowing and not drift off has been something that I'm challenged with. And so I'm curious to know what you think about how do you stay in that faithfulness? How do you stay in that knowingness? What advice do you have?
That's something it takes practice. It takes time to get to that place. You really have to come from a place of your own sovereignty. And that's a tough question. And I think it's different for everyone. You have to, I'm not sure how to answer that. That's just, it's like when you get to a place and you're working from intuition, I don't know how to answer that.
I could hear you speaking about coming from one's own sovereignty, and that is something that and then you were also mentioning about how it is different for everyone. And I guess what I can share is that I'm noticing that part of my experience of sovereignty and faith is having the faith to realize that I might not always be doing something that makes other people feel comfortable all of the time, because that's something that I used to really want and believe I need to do. Except I guess my life has definitely taught me that I need to have faith that it's going to be okay. But that part of what makes me who I am is that I am a challenger, I'm a changer, I'm a changer, I'm a
right, exactly.
And that if I'm going to be healthy, I need to be myself. And that's very scary.
Yeah, I think knowing who you are definitely helps too. Because if you're coming from a place of not really knowing where you stand and who you are as an individual, that's a recipe for chaos when it comes to decision making and just kind of like moving through the world. I think you can get yourself in a lot of trouble. So,
But getting into a lot of trouble makes for some really good stories.
Oh yeah, that's true too. That is true.
So I'm curious, has your experience with faith and your intuitive knowing, has that inspired and fueled some of the work that you are doing and producing in your life as well?
Yes, definitely. I think one of the things that I love doing is taking a question or just having this sort of drive to like maybe visit someplace or have certain experiences and put myself into certain situations that sometimes I think sane people just wouldn't do. And I go and I follow, I on my website, I say I follow my curiosity. And I think being able to do that, you really have to open yourself up and have faith that you're going to be taken care of, putting yourself in, like going to certain places or putting yourself into certain situations that might not be the most comfortable.
Wow. So, and I read your blogs, and I would definitely say that as a reader who doesn't go through the experience myself, I'm really grateful that you're someone who does, because I do get my own vicarious experience to the extent of which I'm faithful that I can Well, and so I'm starting to really realize and appreciate the amount of faith that you have to be able to go out on your own over and over and over again and to share your experiences in your writing.
Oh, thank you.
I really do. I've noticed that the more that even when I read your writing, the more it inspires me to just keep being open. And I love that you have this mantra of following your curiosity.
Yeah.
You know, I think it reminds me of that saying that like curiosity killed the cat, but I think maybe that's just kind of really not very faithful.
That definitely, I think, came from somebody coming from somebody's place of fear.
Wow. So then let's see if this were to kind of bring this onto a final note. If someone is feeling afraid or really challenged in their own little pressure cooker, wherever they're at in their life, what practice, because you talked about putting something into practice, what simple practice can someone do when they're in a state of fear and anxiety in order to just kind of begin that softening to open up and believe there's another way?
Wow. Okay. I guess if you're really in a pressure cooker and you're under pressure, really, there is no like soft way about it. You just gotta like take some sort of action. You've got to make a decision or you're going to be stuck there. I would say practice just getting really centered and just like.
What is something that you've done in that kind of a moment to get centered?
Just kind of sit with yourself and really like, I guess meditation helps a lot, for sure. That will help center you definitely. But again, that takes practice and it will take time. It isn't like, somebody who is feeling that pressure, it'll take time to get to a point where you feel more comfortable doing this, but it's just starting out. You just gotta like, maybe start meditating and getting clear on who you are and who you are as a person. What would you do?
Those are really good questions. Yeah. When I hear that, I realize I've been asking myself those questions year after year after year after year after year. They never get old. Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing so much of your soul.
Oh, thank you.
Today. You're such a brave soul and you're such an inspiration. And I would really like to see more of where you're going. And so I know I'll be reading and following you. And I would just like to know what your blog's website is so that I can share it with my community.
Chasing Fireflies and Miracles.blogspot.com. And you can
Chasing Fireflies and Miracles.blogspot.com.
And you can find, I started the blog at the very end of 2015, right before I left the US. And it's kind of chronicled my journey up to this point in time, questions that I've asked things that I've gotten myself into, following this kind of trail of curiosity, places that I've been, and some things that just came up for me in each of these places. And yeah, and it's still going.
Wow. Amazing. And thank you so much for your advice and giving your thoughts towards this topic of faith. It's been something that's really important in my life, and I know it has been in yours as well.